Good evening, everyone. So, this episode, I wanted to talk about, making it through the first year and doing the birthday party and all the things that led up to that. And as I was sitting here, I was struggling a bit to think about, well, what are my big takeaways? Because in all honesty, I'm still trying to navigate some of these big things, like, the self identity piece. Once I became a mom, I was no longer, and even introducing myself, I wasn't Naomi anymore. I was his mom, right? And that became my new title. And what does that mean? And you know, before I gave birth, I I would go out, I was salsa dancing at least twice a week. I would karaoke, pretty frequently. And none of those things, I didn't feel I was missing. And I didn't know, well, what do I want? What do I like? And what fits? And, just not having, oh God, I mean, if you could make it perfect when you have a child, is to have a built-in team of support people, really, that give you the opportunity to leave your baby with somebody else so you can have you time. And that requires, like a supportive family or friends that won't charge you money, and then you have some funds to go do something. But that's wasn't my reality, and I know it's not a reality for um a lot of people. So it's like, how do you figure this stuff out? And as I was racking my brain about like my takeaways, I guess looking back, it did have something to do with the stigma, right? To admit that maybe I had postpartum depression. And in a way, I felt like if I was to admit it, I would be a failure. Like, why couldn't I just be happy and overjoyed that people would kill to be a mom? There's unfortunately women that struggle with infertility. And I was one of them. This was a shocker. I mean, to even be pregnant. And so there was this level, right? The many layers of our society put upon us. And I would love nothing more than we work to eliminate some of that negative stigma. Um, and this pressure to hurry up and get your body back, and you have all the house things done, and everything is just so, it's a lot. It's a lot. Um, but I wish I and again, I could say that, and here's what I've learned too: when you're ready, things will come into your vicinity. I think I was seeing a therapist, and it's interesting. There have been so many that have come in, maybe served their purpose, and then I've evolved into needing something else, right? And not every therapist is created equal or is really therapeutic. Um, Again, what I will say is, like, if you are leaving feeling 10 times worse than when you came in, it's probably not the right therapist. A, you know, they should kind of help you stir some stuff and help you unpack things you might be holding on to, but it should never feel like you are a piece of crap, or, you're just even in more dire mental health, no. So it wasn't until more recently that I started working with this current therapist that I have. And she's been a true godsend. She um, let me know about, well, a few different things, but a self-compassion practice, and really giving myself grace and understanding, just as you would with a friend, and you would treat a friend who was going through this situation. But we're so typically harsh on ourselves Like, why can't I do this right? And why is this happening? And da 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 da. And why me? And switching out of that. And then what I also want to talk about is getting to that first birthday party. Interestingly enough, I had one friend who originally, like, it's a newer friend. It was like the girlfriend of my son's father, you know. No, not like my son's father had a guy friend, and that was his girlfriend. Like, let me just be clear, okay? Like, no. But she came to the birthday party, and she's the only one who gave me a gift. I was so touched and blown away because, of course, my mind, I'm stressed out. Like, we made it Curious George themed because my son loves Curious George. And so I made a home baked cake, decorated in monkey, you know what I mean? Like, I did a lot of work to try to coordinate this, and having 40 people in the apartment and all the things. And she came and she gave me a gift. And I was like, huh. Because of course it's also a celebration. Like, you guys have survived, and to be recognized. Because it's interesting how we recognize women when they're pregnant, and we feel compelled, like, almost we're allowed to touch women's bodies and bellies, like, oh, and like, no, boundaries begin with B. And then once you give birth, you're a second class citizen. And it's kind of how I've felt about motherhood. Like, we really don't care about mothers and children, especially in the United States, where in other countries, postnatal care, there's a lot more of it. You're getting more support. You're getting financially kind of cared for. There's not much of that happens here in the US. And then it's just a race to get back to work. But to make it to that first birthday, I think if I could look back, not to put so much emphasis on trying to get everything just right, especially for the party, the stress of that. There was way too much food, and nobody, after all that work of making this monkey shaped cake and frosting it myself, nobody cut it, because they just went with the cupcakes. Because of course, you make the tiers of the cupcakes, and then you have the cake. And I was like, now I have this ginormous cake, can't fit it back in the fridge. And I'm like, what? So people, eat the cake. It's okay. That would be my my advice. But I just wanted to share with, like, the new moms out there that, yeah, the burnout is real, and it really is about building that team. So important. And I'm still struggling today with mommy guilt, right? Like, taking that time just for you. And people say, oh, you take a shower. Like, no, I mean, mama needs a little bit more than just a shower by herself. And but taking an hour, but it is also what you can do. And if it happens to be a 5-minute cup of tea, set the timer. Say to your children, mommy needs some space, whatever you need to do, to really pour back into you. Even though logically we get it, we understand, it's in the actionable steps that I struggle with too. Saying, no, mama needs something right now. So I think with that, I will leave it there. And until next time, again, like, share, leave a comment below if you can identify with this, or you want to share your experience with new motherhood and making it to the first year. And what was your experience like? I would love to know. So with that, I will end. Have a good rest of your evening. Bye-bye.